Hello and welcome back to my channel. In case you didn't watch the previous video, here's a bit of a background for today's video. So about 2 weeks ago I posted a video titled City Skylines is Disappointing, talking about the things that seemed odd from the official trailer. There were 2 videos before that where I pointed out all of the things that I'm excited about. I did the pros, I wanted to cover the cons too. But YouTube is slowly turning into Twitter for videos, so people who watched 10 seconds of the video and took it too seriously were outraged. Many thanks to those angry people, by the way. In terms of stats, I'm happier than ever. The best performing video on this channel. Thank you so much. And what about all the dislikes? Well, I can live with that. That's valuable feedback that will help me create more engaging content later. There are also some comments that I want to go through. Let's take a look at the first one. Parking lots are actually a good thing because it takes space away and therefore motivates to build alternatives with public transit. That's true in terms of gameplay. I'm not entirely sure if that's how the new traffic AI is going to work, but if it does force you to actually create parking or create means of transportation, and there are no more pocket cars, so yeah, that'll be quite interesting to see. They are going to have more dev diary. This is the first one. The third one is public and cargo transportation. That's July 3rd. They have the pedestrian and promenade DLC in this game, plus they're going to have Europeans theme mode in the game as well. We're going to talk about that dev diary later in this video today. We'll have a European theme, but it seems like we won't see it before the release. There isn't a dedicated dev diary, and judging by the blurry thumbnails, we won't see it as part of other episodes either. I think you're missing the point that a lot of this might have been possible with mods, but now is vanilla, which will be amazing for console players. I've never played on a console, so I cannot relate, but it's true that console players will finally get a lot of features that were only available on PC with mods before. You are the can't please everyone guy. You'd rather walk, I get it, and walkable cities is something they should be seriously looking into, as car-centric city planning is going out of fashion for more eco-friendly city centers. Still, building modern-day villages aren't really the outcomes most people are playing the game for. I'm not talking about modern-day villages here. I'm talking about city planning and city building. That is a little more than just highways and avenues. The requirement for parking lots actually diminishes car centricity. If you make your cities too car-centric, you will be overwhelmed with the need to provide parking and deal with traffic. The mechanic will encourage players to build a robust public transportation system and take advantage of pedestrian roads to discourage car usage. Okay, I do agree about the pocket cars. Hopefully, if that's not the case, then yeah, you're totally right on this one. That will probably work. Focus was on road systems, so they traded trams and buses because you can apply tracks and dedicated lanes directly over existing basic roads. Think Metro is totally different and separate system to be explained. It is confirmed that apart from parking lots, both multi-story garages and underground structures are available. European theme for both roads and buildings, Hope Districts too, will have a dedicated diary section. I don't like roundabouts rendering too much, and for sure the full ones are not beautifiable. You need to create them yourself. But could handle a well, first of all, we're not getting a dev diary dedicated to European theme. You can double check on the website. And roundabouts are definitely a bit of a disappointment, but having the option to add them easily is nice. I'm hoping for a more sophisticated bike network too, since it's a DLC of its own. Oh, so some of you actually understood the point I was trying to make. Who doesn't like an elevated road cutting through residential areas? That is never going out of fashion. City Skylines 2 is disappointing because it doesn't fit the model of what I think is superior, which are European cities. Also, love how he complains about them not showing other means of transportation in a video focused on road building tools. Haha.
Don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this.
Hi, my name is Luis, and today I'm in Paris to try the top 5, and we're gonna see which one is the best. What's the perfect shape? This has to be in the top 3, hands down. This was very modern with the Instagram followers counter, but the area Deer is not the best. I mean,
You aren't aware that the US attracts tons of tourists every day? Yeah, Americans tour to other countries, but that doesn't mean that America doesn't have beautiful road network. They're just different than other parts of the world, and people travel to see different things. It goes both ways. Nobody's touring anywhere for the road networks, so you don't make any sense anyways. Oh yeah, they're just different. They are just different. You and every public transportation loving person that's trying to force public transportation down everyone's throats seems like fun people at parties. Chill out about public transportation. Not every country wants public transportation. Many of us wants to suffer. Be honest, have you ever been to the United States for a long period of time? You're being incredibly ignorant and rude over a system that is, in my opinion, works and works well. If you actually want to gain a positive following, stop hating unpopular things. It only attracts hateful people. You should at least explain your opinion rather than just saying car bad, bus good.
Oh, first of all, I'm a car guy. I enjoy driving, but I don't like it being the only option. I enjoy driving when I want to, not because I have to. And for most people, driving wouldn't be the first choice if they had any choice in the first place. That's a whole bunch of people that hate driving and are not good at it. So it's not safe, it's not nice, and it just creates more traffic. And, of course, if you want to suffer, you're allowed to suffer. I don't judge. And speaking of popular, well, yeah and no.
The video about roads is about cars. Who would have thought?
You know that you can see a little more in the video than just cars, right?
I've got to dismiss this opinion. Bikes suck and a byproduct of inefficient city travel. No city should ever focus on bikes. European cities suck in general. They're low density, inefficient, and low productivity. Yes, they have better transit than the US cities, which is a good plus, but pretty much everything else is worse in European cities. Sure, you should have the option to build terrible cities if you want, low density bike lanes everywhere, but by no means should that minor playstyle be the main focus of advertisement. They've done a great job showing off impressive road systems and high rises.
Well, look what I just found on Google. Oh, that's a bummer.
Make it yourself then. Problems don't magically solve themselves, lol. You seem like the biggest complainer about every game. If you're not happy about, go build the game yourself and see how people judge your game.
Did you even read that before you click send? Don't you like your little Kia? Well, go build it yourself. Build a car yourself. Good luck with that.
Giving your video a clickbait title like this is just going to get people mad. Click dislike and leave. At least take a more neutral stance on the title, then you'll see your like-dislike ratio and watch time increase.
Oh, getting people mad is literally my hobby. I can live with that.
I'm just looking at Barcelona. I didn't know it was in America. It's the greediest of great cities. It must suck to live there. How boring.
Well, you see, the problem is not really with greed itself, it's also about the size. Size matters. So, how big is a typical city block in the States versus in Barcelona? Oh wow, these numbers don't add up either.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to watch a video saying a game is disappointing many months before it is released, after one dev diary. Your points may be valid, but the title of this video isn't until you've played the full game.
You do realize that in order to leave a comment, you have to literally click on a video and start watching it, right?
I couldn't even watch this video, it's so disappointing. I even gave it a dislike. He doesn't make any sense, and the thumbnail is just bad. And the title, I'm not even gonna talk about it.
You've just spent 2 minutes of your precious time talking about how you're not going to say anything.
Europeans be like, no US first, no, you guys got betrayed by your own kind. Feet, miles, great city blocks.
Feeling betrayed. Alright, now let's take a look at the latest feature highlights video. Now this one is finally going to be talking about public and cargo transportation. Now first of all, the tunnels are now rendered and the trees are looking quite a bit more realistic, as well as the water levels. So that is one of the nice tiny things that we're gonna see. Nice improvements. Airports, it just seems like we are going a step back, so we're not gonna get modular airports like we get with the airports DLC. So that's a bit of a bummer. Now, there's another thing I have to mention is graphics. I watched a video recently. I'm gonna leave a link in the description, and you're gonna see it on the screen right now. I'm not gonna get into details, but yeah, that's another concern. And that is something that's once you see it, it's hard to unsee it. Now we finally see the buses and the trams. The models are pretty basic, but the quality of the models is way better than what we used to have in the original game. And the same applies to pretty much every other transportation mode that we see in the game, including trains. So finally, even the base models are looking really, really good. I bet once you get the workshop mods, that's going to be even better, and you're going to get high quality models as opposed to the original game. Now this taxi actually looks pretty real. Looks like a Toyota Camry. And taxis now function completely differently. That's another interesting thing. So I'm guessing they're going to be way more useful in the City Skylines 2 as opposed to City Skylines 1. In City Skylines 1, they were just a minor addition to the transit network, but they didn't really do much. It seems like it's going to be different for City Skylines 2.
They're reliable, cheap, and easy to route here, there, and everywhere. Traffic conditions are their Achilles heel.
Now this connection between these two roads is pretty nice. So the road mechanics is probably completely different. It seems like we either don't have nods or they function completely differently compared to the original game. That looks really nice. Now all the videos that we've seen of the game during the nighttime, everything looks pretty nice. So that's at least one thing where the graphics is not that much of an issue. All the nighttime videos and screenshots are looking pretty good. And overall, all the info panels on transit and all the lines and your transit network symbols, they're just looking a little bit nicer and way easier to read as opposed to City Skylines 1. So that is another nice thing. Metros are looking pretty basic, but I'm hoping that we're going to get some nice looking ones, just like we had with the plazas and promenades DLC. That will be nice to see. And I'm wondering if it would be possible to integrate them into buildings, like to have it at the base of the building or have the entrance at the ground floor. That would be really interesting. I don't know what's happening there and whether that's going to get fixed. The rail looks fine, all the tracks look fine, but this wiggly wobbly motion when they change tracks, it just looks weird. And now here again, it seems like we do get nodes, because if you look at the pillar and a bit of a slope that we have right after that, that's something that reminds you of the original game. It doesn't look all that smooth. Now the new mechanics of adding tram tracks is pretty nice. It's a way better thing than what we used to have in the original game. You don't need a road that has tram tracks. You actually can add them to an existing road. That is pretty nice. And it seems like the stops are now more flexible. Like you could place it literally anywhere you want, so you're not you don't have to follow nodes or certain segments. Now this bit looks pretty good. Both the tracks, the trees, the depth of view, and the train model itself. This is another interesting thing, overlapping items. So it seems like we're gonna be able to place a station over existing tracks, and somehow the game is gonna work out its magic. I don't know how it's supposed to work. It's probably gonna have quite a few glitches, but it is nice to have nonetheless.
And you build a hub where businesses can receive, ship, and store incoming and outgoing goods.
Using them as a storage facility, that's really nice. I'm wondering if we're going to still have the warehouses just like we used to have in the original game. Now, once again, airport, it seems like they got the scale right this time, but it's pretty much just the airport that you place. It doesn't seem to have as much flexibility as we have with the airports DLC for City Skylines 1. That's a bit of a disappointment. Okay, so they got two things right. They got the scale right and they got the price right. So that's quite an improvement in terms of
However,
financials
air
and
transport has a pretty irresistible
realism of the game.
speed. Plus, planes won't add to road.
The landing and takeoff animation still looks a little bit weird. I don't know if that's possible to fix that, but at least the planes are not doing U-turns right after takeoff as they would do in City Skylines 1.
Incredibly easy.
Now these icons seem to be a little bit more informative. There is a lot going on, but it's still easier to figure out what's what as opposed to what we used to have in City Skylines 1.
To review passenger and cargo transportation networks separately.
Now cargo routes, that's another nice thing, so we can actually dedicate certain tracks to cargo, so it's not just through building them and connecting in a certain way. You can actually that is quite a realistic thing where you could possibly use some of the tracks for both passenger and cargo on certain in certain areas, so that's quite nice. And now let's take a look at the developer insights video.
First, you create the depots. Then you set up the stations or the stops.
Now that is something interesting because the depot, that makes a lot of sense. That's something we used to have. I'm wondering if depots are going to have certain area that they operate in, that you, for instance, cannot use one depot for the entire city as you would be able to in City Skylines 1. Now the next interesting thing is the stops and the lines are now separate, so you can place a bus stop and then attach a line to it. That is something we didn't see before. That is something interesting.
And then you create the lines with the line tool. All of the land-based public and cargo transportation types need depots to function. The depots send out the vehicles, and they also have upgrades that improve their function.
So they do have upgrades, and it seems like, if I'm not wrong, that you could attach it on any side. It seems like you would be able to place it where you want. That's really nice, if that's the way it's going to function.
Functionality.
And now another thing is you can see there is a bit of a height difference in terrain, but the transition between the two doesn't look all that weird. Not as bad as what we used to have in City Skylines 1.
You can upgrade your bus depot to service electric buses.
Increased capacity for rail yards and dispatch center for taxi depot. Also, many of the different transportation modes can be connected by you to the outside connections to create.
The outside connection, that's another interesting thing. It seems like we're still going to have one point where we can connect it. I'm still not entirely sure how that's going to function, but it seems like it's very similar to the original game.
The lines that you want.
You can now make your own intercity bus lines.
Now, this is the bit that I really don't like. So they did fix the map. You cannot see the edge of the map. That's very nice. So there is a smooth transition. The problem I have here is the highways that are going outside that are not connecting to anything. And it wasn't the case in City Skylines 1. I know that it doesn't make sense to build it and have it go to the edge of the map because we're not showing the edge of the map anymore. But we could do like a tunnel or something, right? We could make sure that it looks a little bit more realistic rather than just the road cutting off on the edge. That is just ridiculous. Look at it. Look at it. It just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. At least a tunnel. Because we're on the road to nowhere anyway.
The trams are included in the base game.
The weather effects are actually looking way better than what we used to have in the original game. That's another upgrade.
Cargo ships can carry a lot of cargo. With the buses, you can create intricate lines that skip traffic jams and busy intersections. They no longer need to go directly from stop to stop.
Now, that is one of the points that I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work. That will be interesting to see but then I'm not entirely sure how that's going to function. So the bus stops are most of the time going to be pretty close by to each other, because that what would make sense, except for like BRT. But BRT would have a separate bus lane, so that's not an issue for BRT. For a regular bus, I'm not entirely sure how are they going to be able to go around traffic and avoid traffic jams, but we'll see.
Citizens care about cost. You can adjust the ticket price per line. If you make the cost too high, they might not ride your public transportation.
Buses and
Now that is an interesting one. So when the city is running out of money, as we can see right now on the screen, it's losing money. I think I'll just raise the taxes, raise the prices, ban all cars, earn money for like half an hour, and then get it back to normal.
They might not ride your public transportation.
buses and taxis are unlocked with milestone progression, but every other transportation
Oh, now this is very interesting. Police and administration. So now, welfare office. I don't know why that's the starting point, but let it be. Police headquarters, prison, central intelligence. Oh, that is very interesting. That is a way more complex and more realistic system, like the governance system, as opposed to the original game, City Hall, Central Bank. Central Bank, so that's pretty much gets you to the level where you're a city-state. That is something very, very interesting. They didn't really put much stress on it, but what you can see from the progression chart here, that is looking very interesting and very promising.
type you can unlock by using
Okay, so now the same thing goes for transit, air, space center, international airport. Oh, that is something that we didn't see before.
the development points.
And we actually have to unlock it. That's another new mechanic. How much was it?
Unlock by you.
Okay, so the price for the airport was 750,000. Okay, so they did get the size right. The price, yeah, I'm not so sure. Maybe for a smaller airport. Yeah, no. If you look at the price of the tickets and then at the price of the airport, that's where things don't add up anymore. Now the interviews on the lines are still looking pretty good, and you can also spot a helicopter flying over the road, so we do have helicopters. I don't know if we're going to have helicopter taxis or any kind of helicopter service that we used to have in the original game, but we'll see.
The game also features a line overview panel where you can inspect all your public and cargo lines. You can also access each line through the panel.
The Transportation Infoview panel.
Okay, so now we know what that is for. So that icon is for Transportation Infoview, and now it seems like it makes a little bit more sense and a little bit easier to read it when you want to see your entire city's transportation network.
Has become much more detailed.
And that is pretty much it for today. So it turns out City Skylines is not that bad, as we just figured out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.